the rights of the people. Thus, any conduct contrary to the United States Constitution.
On the NDAA, you know, I looked at this, and you know, I'm probably one of those. I probably looked at this really from a perspective of this is a federal issue. When the Patriot Act first came up, and I know that we were asked to do a resolution in the city of Springfield as mayor, I said no, this is a federal issue. One of the museums I chose to go through, and a lot of it's because of my own personal heritage, was the Holocaust Museum. And the reason why I bring this up, because you know what happened? Folks turned a blind eye and didn't do anything. And people even in Western Europe had no idea what was going on in Germany. And so I will tell you that that experience probably changed my perspective on what you're bringing back to us 180 degrees. And because I think you're exactly right. If things would have happened more at a local level, it would have transformed up to higher up into more of the national level in what that perspective. Well, I know I'll save my comments as we go through the work session. I'll leave it up to Chair Farr on whether he will allow folks from NDAA to sit in on the work session. I know from my experience that's really not what occurs, because it's really an opportunity for the staff to go back and forth with the commissioners, but the chair does have the ability to set the tone, and I am not the chair. So, but so I really want to say thank you very much for bringing this back up. I think it's very important, and like I said, that my grandfather was a Ukrainian Jew. His family escaped. Joe Lawrence knows my family extremely well down in Roseburg, and his family, before he was actually born in the United States, they escaped the Russian Revolution in 1905. The last name Lycan is inscribed on Ellis Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lycan. Commissioner Sorensen.
Thanks very much to everyone who came out today to provide public comment to the Board of Commissioners. I'm going to spend my time responding to the concerns raised about the National Defense Authorization Act, since most of you came for that purpose, and it's not meant to demean the other important topics that we are going to be addressing. Let me just say, first of all, that that just because someone is in a different role in our system of government doesn't mean that they have sort of limited their responsibilities to uphold our U.S. Constitution. All of the people in elective office take an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution. So it's not only judges that uphold the Constitution, it's all elected officials take an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, at least in our country. And so when we have a law like the National Defense Authorization Act that has a real basic purpose, okay, for all of you that have heard this crowd is against the National Defense Authorization Act. That's not really true, because the National Defense Authorization Act is what funds our armed forces. So we're actually not against the National Defense Authorization Act. There are provisions in the law that's been passed by Congress, signed by the President, that have the unfortunate effect of allowing the military, the federal military, to incarcerate people in the United States, and they have no opportunity for any redress, no trial. They can be held indefinitely. And we know that that since a majority of the House and Senate passed the bill, since the President signed the bill, that laws that get passed in that fashion are presumed to be constitutional. But we have a method to test the constitutionality of laws, and that method is to go to a federal court and have a judge rule on it. And that's what's happened in this case, that a federal judge has ruled that the law is unconstitutional. So we shouldn't turn a blind eye to request by the public to try to speak out on this. Now, we're fortunate in Oregon in that most of our members of Congress from Oregon and our 2 senators have voted against this, and they've been pretty forceful about it. And so in some ways, we're preaching to our 1%. Oregon's about 1% of the national political scene. We're kind of preaching to the choir on our 1%. But I do think that more local governments that take this up, whether they're cities or counties, will have an opportunity to be noticed, and more people will see that the opposition to this kind of provision that's in Section 1021 and 1022 of the law, that we're speaking out against it. So I'm glad we're moving through this process. I know it takes a long time. I think that the board did get my letter that I wrote last spring, that I worked with various groups on to bring this more to the attention of the community. And I'm glad we're going to have the work session. I'm totally in favor of having more extensive work by the board on this so that we can get a really robust, vibrant, and informed resolution opposing this. Thank you.
So, we shouldn't turn a blind eye to requests by the public to try to speak out on this. Now, we're fortunate